this dude is just kind of the comedian of the episode.
Okay. Yeah.
And I wanted to throw this in here because this is something you got to be sitting for. You got to just imagine what might
you know what you got to do?
You gotta understand, China.
Yes.
Okay.
You have to just kind of like prep yourself for mental gymnastics and get ready to laugh. You ready for this?
Sure.
This is China's stance. This is Xie Zhenhua.
Okay, so this guy over here is called Xie Zhenhua, right?
Yes, his stance on what's happening in the world via climate change and carbon output.
Okay.
This is what he said. Europe, so the European Union, and other developed countries must take positive action to implement climate change goals as geopolitical uncertainties threaten to undermine their efforts, China's top climate envoy told his German counterpart, Xie Zhenhua, who leads China's climate negotiation. He told Germany's special climate envoy Jennifer Morgan via video link late Wednesday that global climate governance was currently facing multiple challenges and uncertainties. And this is what he says again. The climate policies of some European countries have shown a backswing, and it's hoped that this is just a temporary stopgap, he said, according to the summary of a meeting released by China's Environment Ministry. As Western countries raise coal consumption in order to offset gas supply disruptions brought about by conflict in Ukraine, China's foreign minister said in a statement that this month that its own green and low-carbon development path remained firm, in contrast with the European Union.
Wow, that's some...
I mean...
Guys.
What?
Here's the thing. You've heard a lot about, and China keeps going on about, like, they've got all these green energy initiatives, right? And they have thrown a lot of money at, like, solar farms and whatever else. But it doesn't matter because at the exact same time, they keep increasing their coal-fired power plants. They keep increasing their damage to the environment, their CO2 emissions. We'll show you some graphs here, okay? It's just ridiculous, you know what I mean? It's like somebody who's throwing, like, all this trash in the river and then one day... goes out and collects like 5 bottles out of the river and says, look at what I'm doing for the environment. And you're not doing anything, you know, but meanwhile, they're throwing all this junk in there. Okay, so again, this is per capita net greenhouse gas emissions. China overtook pretty much the developed world in 2019.
Yeah, the OECD members. So you got like Mexico, Chile, Ireland, Luxembourg, Belgium, Iceland, Finland, Sweden, Australia, France, Japan. Big countries, right?
Yeah.
And this is when, in 2019, is when they overtook this huge conglomeration of countries. But in, I think it was 2020, is when they kind of overtook everyone combined.
Yes.
Like all of the main countries combined. If you threw them all in a bag, China eclipsed that.
People say per capita, right? We all understand what per capita means, per person. So... yes, China pollutes more than all other countries combined, but because they got such a large population, people like divide it up and they say, well, per capita, it's less than the USA. In other words, okay, think about it this way. If you got 10 people that are polluting 100 tons into the atmosphere, and you've got 100 people putting 100 tons into the atmosphere, you would say that the 100 people are polluting less, even though it's the same amount of pollution. You get what I'm saying here?
Yes.
But... it's actually a bunch of BS because, let's see, the world's top 5 polluters were responsible for 60% of the global emissions in 2019. China alone generated about the same amount of CO2 as the next 4 countries combined, and its carbon output is still rising every year. China's emissions were so vast that its biggest companies, few of which are household names, create more pollution than entire nations. China Baowu, the world's top steelmaker, put out more CO2 into the atmosphere last year than Pakistan. Okay? That's one. So you see...
one company.
It's not the people of China. You can't say per capita because if you've, like us, traveled around China, you go to the rural areas where you've got a huge part, like 50% of the population are living very simple lives and cannot put any emissions out unless they're farting a lot.
Right.
Because they're literally living in like a mud house or a very simple house. They're doing some farming.
Not consuming much.
They don't have cars.
Yeah.
You know, they're not creating pollution. All right. They're not, this per capita thing is rubbish because a huge percentage of the population just aren't emitting anything.
Right.
It's a very small percentage of China's population. It's actually these big companies, these state-owned companies and these
Yeah.
factories and this outsourced stuff, those are the ones.
Yes.
So when you actually see that China is creating more pollution than the entire world combined, it's not the whole of China, it's a very small part. It's these very bad state-run steel companies and things like that. It's the factories that have been outsourced, you know, because like in America, you're not making anything here anymore, so you outsource it to an irresponsible factory.
Yeah.
That's the problem is you can blame America for outsourcing it to China, but it's actually the irresponsible companies that don't follow any kind of guidelines.
No.
So they won't have proper CO2 scrubbers or whatever. They'll just throw pollutants into the rivers and stuff. They do whatever they want just
Dirty
to
coal.
Yeah, and they do this like shortcut shit just so that they can get the job done
Correct.
quickly and cheaply, and it's at the detriment to the environment because they're irresponsible. If you were to outsource that factory to a responsible country, it would be way less.
Not only that, they would even if they didn't have the means to make it clean or to reduce the carbon.
Yeah.
Those countries would most likely allow the foreign countries to come in and audit and check those things.
Yes.
Right. Whereas China oftentimes doesn't allow that at all. There's no oversight.
Yeah, here's another one. Take state-owned oil giant Sinopec Group, one of its subsidiaries, China Petroleum and Chemical. So just one of its subsidiaries. Okay, China Petroleum and Chemical contributed more to global warming last year than Canada.
Yeah.
Just one subsidiary of Sinopec Group.
Yes.
More
One
than
subsidiary of Sinopec.
Yes.
Not Sinopec.
More than Canada. So, you know, like when China comes out and like, oh, Canada and all these
Right.
developed
Oh, they
countries.
sing the national anthem? Oh, Canada?
Yeah, oh, Canada, thank you for giving us all this real estate that we can, like, you know, funnel
Wash
all our
money
money
through.
laundering through. We love you so much and, you know, hope you guys
That's
suffer
the new-
and can
that's
never
the
afford a
new
house. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, you know, other than the fact that, you know, Canada could set a swarm of auroras, you know, in there to, like, take care of it. But anyway,
They'll surveil everything.
they will. One subsidiary was more than Canada. All right. And so this article goes on and on. If you want to read this article, it's on my Twitter. But the fact of the matter is that when people come in with their like, but my per capita, you know, argument, it's bullshit. It's a few Chinese factories and Chinese state-owned
Yes.
companies that are polluting more than like the entire world, entire nations.
Yes.
So, you know, the fact that you've got that one company, that one steel company is polluting more than Pakistan.
Yeah.
Okay, one company.
One.
It's not all those farmers in the countryside. So you can't say per capita. You should say per company or something. I don't know.
company, yeah.
But it's China's irresponsible management of these very bad polluters, these very bad actors that causes this problem. And that's why China pollutes more than the rest of the world. So for them to combined. It's for them to come and try and say to the EU, hey, you better watch out and better do something about that is bullshit.
No. I mean, it's just obscene.
It's just, you know, it's bullshit. I just have to say it. Excuse my French.